Hello to all the viewers watching Mr. Twilight channel. Welcome to another episode of the series Nighttime Horror Stories. Today, we will venture together into 3 true horror stories, all connected to abandoned hospitals. For a long time, these old, forgotten medical facilities have been ideal destinations for horror enthusiasts seeking to test their courage. However, behind those peeling walls and damp, musty, smelling hallways, terrifying secrets sometimes lie, hidden secrets no one could have anticipated. If you truly want to explore the darkest corners of these forsaken medical buildings, brace yourself, because after hearing these stories, you might never want to set foot in any abandoned hospital again. Let's begin with the first story. The immortal figure in the morgue of Old Redwood Hospital. Inside an abandoned morgue, the faint beam of a flashlight flickered across rows of old, rusty metal lockers. The air was icy cold, thick with the stench of mold and decay. As the light swept past, the creaking sound of a locker door echoed from a dark corner. Creak, creak, as if someone trapped inside was struggling to push it open and crawl out. Logan's heart pounded wildly, sweat pouring down his face. Suddenly, the locker door burst open. The flashlight caught a horrifying sight. A pale, bony arm reached out, its sharp nails scraping along the metal surface. Then, a thin figure slowly crawled out, a bald head with just a few strands of hair, empty, lifeless eyes, and a wide, open mouth emitting a hoarse, gurgling moan. Logan stumbled backward, almost falling over. That thing looked like a corpse, grotesque and zombie-like, moving slowly while reeking of a heavy, sickening stench of death. As he was about to scream, the sound barely left his throat when the creature lifted its head and stared directly at him. This was the terrifying scene that greeted him when he decided to explore the abandoned Old Redwood Hospital at 2 a.m. Logan was a rising vlogger known for exploring mysterious locations across the western United States. He had heard countless rumors about this hospital, built in 1930 and abandoned after a devastating fire. Locals whispered about a secret experimental room hidden within the building. Always drawn to danger, Logan came here hoping to film shocking content for his channel. Located deep in a sparse forest, Old Redwood now stood in ruins, with nothing left but rotting hallways. No one dared wander near this cursed place. That night, Logan easily slipped into the hospital shortly after 1 a.m. Armed with a flashlight, camera, and audio recorder, he captured the desolation on film: shattered glass, overturned furniture, and scorched, crumbling walls. The cold air seeped in through cracked doors, and the wind howled through empty corridors. Logan wasn't a believer in ghost stories. He thought this was just another creepy location perfect for views. As he ventured deeper into the basement, he found a sign that read, "Morgue." A heavy, rusted metal door blocked the entrance. It took all his strength to push it open without knocking it off its hinges. The faint camera flash illuminated rows of freezer lockers, some with doors left slightly ajar, revealing empty, cold, gray compartments. The air reeked of dampness mixed with a metallic, nauseating odor impossible to describe. On the wall, Logan noticed scratch marks and messy red, painted words, probably sprayed by someone messing around. The entire space felt eerie and suffocating. As he filmed and narrated his video, a sudden sound echoed from a distant corner, a creak, creak, like metal grinding against metal in a slow, steady rhythm. Logan's heart raced. He shined his flashlight in that direction and called out softly, "Is anyone here?" The only response was a sharp knock-knock against the metal surface. Curiosity mixed with fear pulled him closer. He soon realized to his horror that the knocking came from inside a sealed freezer locker. It felt like something or someone was trapped inside, desperately trying to break free. Terrified but unable to resist, Logan stepped closer. Before he could react, the freezer door suddenly burst open with a piercing screech. A pale, deathly hand reached out, followed by a frail figure stumbling to the floor, its body emaciated, its skin gray and shriveled like it had been dead for years. Sparse hair clung to its scalp, and its bloodshot eyes bulged, surrounded by dark, dried blood. The thing let out a raspy, guttural sound, huff, huff, like it was struggling to breathe. Logan had already dropped his camera without realizing it. He wanted to scream, but his throat locked up in sheer terror. The creature snapped its head toward him. Then, with a grotesque motion, it stood up, bending its body and twisting its remaining joints. The sickening sound of bones cracking echoed through the silent morgue. Survival instincts kicked in. Logan backed against the wall, his whole body shaking uncontrollably. Suddenly, the creature bent one knee, then lunged at him, its sharp nails swiping the air, just inches from his face. In a panic, Logan threw his flashlight at the figure and turned to run. Behind him, the sound of dragging feet scraped across the concrete floor, relentlessly pursuing him. Every so often, the creature shrieked a high-pitched, bone-chilling scream that echoed throughout the hallway. The doors of nearby rooms burst open by themselves, as if more creatures like it were about to emerge. Logan ran for his life, his heart pounding like a war drum, his legs nearly giving out beneath him. By some miracle, he spotted an emergency exit at the end of the hallway. He threw himself at the door, burst outside, and escaped, abandoning all his equipment except for his phone. When he glanced back, the weak beam of his flashlight revealed the creature still staring at him, head tilted unnaturally. Without hesitation, Logan slammed the door shut and spirited away. He jumped into his car, speeding off in a state of absolute panic. Days later, after calming down, he tried to return to retrieve his camera, hoping for proof of what he saw, but everything was gone. There are rumors that many people have gone missing in Old Redwood Hospital, but no one has ever found a clue. Was the figure Logan encountered the ghost of a fire victim, or was it some ancient entity guarding the morgue? No one knows. The evil nurse at Sunrise Memorial Hospital. You probably had a heart-pounding experience with Logan's story. Now, come with me to the second tale. Close your eyes. Now, when you open them, you're standing in a dark, eerie hallway. As you wonder whether the dust-covered fluorescent lights still work, a hospital room door swings open. You suddenly hear the creaking sound of wheels. Something is moving. But here, no one's left alive to push a wheelchair. A wheelchair appears at the far end of the hallway, slowly rolling toward you. No one sits in it, no one pushes it, yet the wheels turn steadily, almost supernaturally. Then, the flashlight in your hand flickers and dies. In the darkness, you hear the click-clack of high heels right next to your ear, followed by a woman's whisper, "It's time for the patient's injection." Your heart stops. Just as your flashlight flickers back on, you see a nurse in a white uniform standing right in front of you. Her pale face is frozen in a wide-eyed stare. She leans in, syringe in hand, her mouth twisted into a crooked smile. This is only the beginning of the nightmare Elena faced at the abandoned Sunrise Memorial Hospital. Elena, a young woman passionate about dark art photography, often explored abandoned places to find unique backdrops. When a friend told her about the haunted Sunrise Memorial, shut down 2 decades ago after a string of medical disasters, Elena was instantly intrigued. She even ignored her friend's warning text about the ghost of a nurse who had committed suicide and was rumored to haunt the halls. Elena arrived in the late afternoon, snapping photos of hallways, patient rooms, and an operating room door that seemed to bleed. Someone had scrawled messages on the walls. "Nurse M is here. She never left." Though a chill crept into her spine, she brushed it off. Engrossed in her photography, Elena didn't notice nightfall creeping in. Only when rain thundered down and she tried to leave did she realize the exit was blocked by debris. Trapped inside, with no cell signal, she looked for a dry spot to wait out the storm. Around 7 p.m., as natural light faded, She took her flashlight and searched for another way out. That's when she heard it. Click-clack. Startled, she pointed her light toward the sound and saw a wheelchair moving on its own. Then the terrifying figure emerged. A woman in a nurse's uniform stood behind it, her black hair neatly pinned back, skin ghostly pale, and eyes wild with madness. Speechless, Alina instinctively raised her camera to capture the moment, but the nurse vanished. The lens only revealed a faint white blur. Panicked, Alina ducked into the administration office, finding scattered documents. In the dim light, she discovered a medical report. Nurse Meredith High. Dose injection, patient list. The page torn off midway. Just then, a whisper echoed from behind. It's time for the patient's injection. Alina spun around. No one was there. She crept into the next room and shone her light on an old group photo of hospital staff. In the middle stood Nurse Meredith, a forced smile on her face, a flower in her hair, holding a syringe. Rumor had it she caused multiple mysterious deaths. Suddenly, a shadow darted past, followed by faint giggles. Determined, Alina stepped into the isolation ward, where medical tools lay scattered. A sharp clink made her turn. A syringe had fallen from a shelf and rolled to her feet. Then, her flashlight died again. In the pitch black, she felt breath on her neck and a chilling hiss. "Time for your shot!" Screaming, Alina bolted from the room. As she ran through the dim hallway, the ghostly nurse appeared clearer, a furious face, an enormous syringe in hand, gliding above the floor. She chased Alina, muttering madly, "Patients can't leave, must inject, must inject." Each word echoed down the corridor. Exhausted and gasping, Alina ducked into a patient room with a wooden door still intact. She blocked it with her body, clamping a hand over her mouth to stay silent. But how could she hide? Knock, knock. The voice came from outside. "I know you're in there, patienter." Elena's heart pounded like a drum. The nurse laughed, an unhinged, gleeful cackle. Then a needle pierced through the wooden door. Luckily, Alina was crouched low and avoided it. She scrambled backward in terror. The door flew open. Nurse Meredith floated in, bloodshot eyes gleaming, baring sharp teeth. She lunged with the syringe. Alina dodged and crawled across the floor, grabbing a random metal object and swinging it wildly at the nurse. Her head deformed under the blows, only to instantly regenerate. Enraged, she yanked the weapon from Alina and flung it aside. Just then, a loud crash distracted the nurse. Something had shattered the window. Elena didn't stop to question it. She saw her chance. Mustering all her courage, she dashed for the door without looking back. She ran through several hallways until she found an emergency exit. Driven by instinct, she kicked the rusted door repeatedly until the hinges gave way. She burst outside, finally able to breathe. Before her lay the hospital lawn. Through the cold rain, Elena sprinted to a car. There, standing at the front of the vehicle, was the furious nurse, clutching her syringe. Without hesitation, Elena released the brake, slammed the gas, and drove straight through the ghostly figure. When Elena told her friends about the near-death experience, no one believed her. Her camera and gear were gone. There was no proof left. From that day on, Elena swore never to step foot in another abandoned hospital for the rest of her life. The Hell Lab inside Graywood Asylum. The final story of this volume follows David, who stands inside a decrepit laboratory. The gray walls are stained with what looks like dried blood, and a rusted operating table sits in the center of the room. Suddenly, a loud clanging sound echoes from a small adjoining room, like metal striking metal. Gripping his flashlight, David approaches, heart pounding. Through a narrow gap in the door, he catches a glimpse of a grotesque body strapped to a steel bed, its flesh rotting, jerking violently. Then it happens. The creature senses David's presence. Its head snaps toward him, eyes wide. Before he can react, it tears through its restraints, reaching its skeletal arms toward him, croaking, "Free me!" And so begins David's nightmare inside the abandoned Graywood Asylum. David, a local forensic investigator, had been assigned to retrieve old case files from the Graywood Asylum for an ongoing investigation. The facility, hidden deep in the northern wilderness, once housed severely mentally ill patients. Rumor had it the head doctor conducted inhumane experiments on them. After these atrocities came to light, the asylum was shut down and left to rot. No one dared buy the land, though David had planned to go with a colleague. A last-minute emergency forced him to go alone, per court order. As he entered the main hall, the heavy scent of mold and lingering chemicals hit him. The endless hallways were dark, the lights long dead. He relied on his flashlight. Rusted bed frames and loose patient restraints lay scattered. The place looked like a scene straight from a horror film. In the administrator's office, David searched cabinets for files, finding only stacks of decayed, unreadable papers. Then he heard something scrape above him. Looking up, he saw a dark shadow scurry across the ceiling and vanish into a corner. "It's just bats or rats," he whispered. Trying to calm himself, David descended into the laboratory. Inside were broken test tubes, dirty surgical equipment, and scattered syringes. On one wall hung a board labeled Project Rebirth X, Patient Taka, along with X-rays showing deformed human bones. Then came a banging sound from the adjacent room. Peering through a crack in the door, David saw a monstrous figure thrashing on a metal bed. Its body was decaying, restrained, barely. When it suddenly looked up and locked eyes with him, David froze in horror. "How is that even possible? This place has been abandoned for years," he muttered. The creature ripped itself free and screamed. David stumbled back in terror. The door flew open, and the thing staggered toward him, arms stretched, groaning. The stench hit him like a wave. Desperate, David threw the folder of documents as a distraction and darted around it. But his foot slipped on some slimy residue on the floor, sending him crashing down. Still, he scrambled back to his feet and kept running. He sprinted down the hallway. Behind every door came groans and scratching, as if other experiments still lived, trapped inside. One room stood open. Inside knelt a man, hands cuffed, metal tubes embedded in his back. He screamed, "Help me! Caldwell, he's back!" Shaken, David fled. He ran up a stairwell, hoping to reach the main hall again. At the landing, a figure appeared, a man in blood-stained surgical scrubs, holding a scalpel. A surgical mask covered his face, but his deep, set eyes glared through. The figure moved slowly down the stairs and rasped, "No one leaves, the experiment continues." David realized this was the ghost of Caldwell, the mad doctor who once ran this place. As Caldwell approached, his scalpel glinted under the dim light. He growled, "We will complete Project Rebirth." David trembled. He knew he couldn't fight this ghostly being. Panicked, he shut his eyes, bracing for the worst. But no pain came. Opening his eyes, he saw the scalpel slicing empty air. Realizing he was unharmed, David dashed past the specter. Caldwell roared, "Come back, you will be my masterpiece." The words echoed violently through the hallway. David kept running, haunted by the growls, screeches, and scraping sounds trailing behind him. He finally reached the lobby. Bolting through the exit, he looked up at the murky moonlight above. He exhaled, thinking he was free. But then, Caldwell appeared behind him, scalpel at his throat. David ducked and slipped past him again. As he fled toward the gates, he glanced back one last time. The doctor stood in the doorway, weapon in hand, surrounded by other disfigured patients. They snarled, gripping Caldwell's shoulders as if refusing to let him leave the asylum. David didn't stop until he reached his car. Collapsing in the driver's seat, he broke down and wept, shaken to the core. David officially withdrew from the case. He never returned to Graywood, but the terror stayed with him. To this day, he believes the Hell Lab still operates in the shadows, overseen by a deranged doctor, dead but far from gone. So, we've just wrapped up 3 terrifying true horror stories about abandoned hospitals. Each of these forsaken places holds its own ghost or mysterious creature, spreading fear in uniquely chilling ways. But in the end, an abandoned hospital is far more than just four empty walls. It might be the very threshold of hell, where the line between life and death blurs into darkness. If you're the curious type who loves to explore, remember this: sometimes painful memories, restless spirits, or even the remnants of forgotten experiments lie in wait, ready to awaken and claim their next victim. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Would you dare set foot in any abandoned hospital after hearing today's stories? And if you've ever had a similar experience, don't hesitate to tell us about it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to support the channel and catch more real horror stories. Thanks for sticking with us till the end. Mr. Twilight wishes you a peaceful night's sleep.